Okay, so someone posted this link up on Discord, and I am going to indulge myself, and we're gonna have a perusal through this thing, because I'm think it might be kind of fun, but that may just be me. If I can, there we go. Then everyone can read in spite of me recording at 1080p. Where should we start? This is, I guess, like, let me see. Left Anonym is a faceless, genderless British biohacker. It lacks both gods and money, and likes people, science, and practical transhumanism. So this person's into transhumanism and this, that, and the other, and the person that linked it basically said that transhumanists were weirdos. So I guess we can start here and work our way down. What we learned from the Pirate Box experiment. Let me mute the daggum Discord. Okay, are you muted? Yes. Okay. What we learned from the Pirate Box experiment: induction coils can work through skin to power a device. The resin coating is bioproof. It is possible to share Wi-Fi from inside yourself. Miniaturization is very important. The power pack is difficult to work with, but functions well. With some work, this may be a great way to smuggle data. Its function as a source of cool data led various people to upload and download content. Chicks dig scars. Makes sense. I should also clarify that the docs are saying the damage to my ulnar nerve was not caused by the box or the surgery to remove it. They don't know what did cause it, but I have been referred for a nerve conduction study to get an idea of what exactly is going on. Will update as I get more info. So this was back in the 15th of January of last year. So right before, during the Hong Kong protests and stuff, and right before COVID. So this kind of gives you a thing. But what's interesting here is, where is it? It is possible to share Wi-Fi from inside yourself. The big worry with that, which probably led to this nerve damage, he says it wasn't caused by the box, but at the same time, when you are doing ham radio, you have to keep track of, like, how much power you're putting into your RF signals and whether something this RF is too strong or not, because the radiation from the RF signals can cause issues with the human body. And this is stuff inside that you basically study in preparation for amateur radio. You're basically measuring how much power you're putting into that antenna, how much is coming out, how you're modulating it, and you also have to give leeway on whatever frequency you're turning into, so that if it modulates outside of it, you're not modulating outside of your legal boundary. So there are a lot of things to it, and the amount of power that you're pushing out through that antenna can cause issues in the human body when it absorbs those signals, which, when people talk about, like, well, 5G doesn't do this, well, it doesn't do that when you're far away from the antenna or the tower. But if you're closer to the tower, how much more power is that one tower pumping out that's going into your body, because it's servicing so many people around you? So this Wi-Fi thing, still have to experiment with it inside the body. Experiment failure. Okay, so the Pirate Box experiment gave its best shot, but ultimately failed. Things were fine from the installation in May 19, but at the end of December, I whacked it on the door of a taxi, which hurt a lot, but didn't worry me too much. However, it got red and irritated looking, and ultimately, I called the 111 service, free medical advice line, and they told me to go to a hospital. Hospital docs were pretty skeeved and clearly thought this was an utterly bizarre thing to have done, and immediately admitted me for removal. They insisted it be removed, and at this point a hole had opened up over one corner of the device, through which a lot of nasty goo was issuing, so I went with their opinion and let them take it out. So I spent New Year's in hospital, and now I have a second badass scar to show off. There's also a bit of nerve damage to my right hand, which will hopefully heal up over time. It's pretty damn irritating. I've lost the grip strength in those fingers, and it makes it very hard to type right. So cautionary tale, don't put enormous devices in your arms. Yeah, depending on where you put it, yeah, the tendons up and down the arm, you've got to be careful with that. So at that point, yeah, that would be pretty stupid, considering like your fingers rubbing up against that box over and over as you're grabbing for things and all. But I mean, I would hope that your hand adjusts to not having that obstruction there anymore in the way of the tendons. So Grindfest 2019 and the big old prototype. It's been a long time since I wrote anything for you guys. I will get the health stuff over with first. I'm having the mental health fun time, basically. Things have escalated pretty badly in the last couple of months, and when this happens, I pretty much can't do anything else. Once again, I'm really sorry if you've been contacting me and didn't get a reply. The bigger my inbox and DMs get, the worse it is. And stupidly, I know I'm making it worse by not checking them, but that doesn't make it any easier to break through the barrier. Right now, the biggest problem is me. Really, I shan't go into gory details, but it's been rough. I am very grateful for the access I have to doctors, psychiatrists, hospitals, etc. But also the care and support I get from everyone in the biohacking community who knows me. You have all been fantastic. As for Grindfest, it was incredible. I haven't been as happy as that since I was a kid. I got to travel to a beautiful place, the desert was gorgeous, and the butterfly migration we saw was like something out of a fantasy novel. A river of thousands of red and black butterflies, all flying towards wherever their destination was. It was awe-inspiring. I got to meet Catholics and see many friends, and everyone was lovely. We had a barbecue, and we learned some useful practical techniques. There were electrical knife fights. I tried every American junk food item I could. It turns out Twinkies are weird, but tasty. I brought back Lucky Charms, too. More importantly, I had an experimental device installed. For legal reasons, I'm not going to go into which of us did what during the actual installation procedure, but it started off when my friend Mixael brought this little pirate box device in. Tiny little guy has USB storage and Wi-Fi antenna. Users just connect to it via their phone or PC and they can download, upload files, anonymously chat, etc. We started to think about taking the cover off it. And at that point, we all sort of looked at each other because it was immediately clear this might make an interesting subdermal device. So over the next few days, it got gutted. More talented people than me took off any extraneous components, replaced the battery with a wireless charging coil, soldered the USB storage down, and filed off the corners. Because we took the battery out, the device is now operated through use of a wireless charging pad held close to it on the skin. That's not ideal, but this is a prototype after all. Cass coated it with about 100 layers of resin-type stuff. It's proprietary. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it performs like a dream. To bioproof the device, after that had cured, it was time for the installation. There's film of this somewhere around, but the op was done very professionally in Cass's lab. The lab is an absolute dream. Spacious, easily cleaned, with 2 main working rooms and one sort of clinic room. It's all organized perfection and has pretty much any equipment or supplies you could possibly want for a biohacking project. From weird cell biology shit to full-on opening someone up and stuffing in large electronics. The latter obviously being what we were doing. We chose to put the device in my upper right arm. I thought you said you weren't going to say who. Rather than the thigh as intended, due to worries about chafing. When we injected shitloads of lidocaine and made a horizontal incision in the arm, which was then held open with retractors with the pocket big enough to hold the device, was carved. At some point, I recall, we had to stop and put more lidocaine in. I think because the corners hurt more to carve out than I thought they would. Anyway, I bawled like a big baby at some point, but it got installed in the end and stitched up with a drain to help get rid of some of the fluid. I went off home via missed flight, but friends helped me sort it out, and it was all okay in the end. And once I got back, pulled out the tube, this caused a large backup of about 50 milliliters of fluid to spurt from the incision, completely overwhelming the little bit of sterile gauze I was trying to clean it with, which in turn surprised the hell out of Paul and kind of ruined the rug. Was worth it if you ask me. The incision healed up well, but slowly. This is probably due to me smoking or something rather than the quality of the work done. which was excellent. I took the stitches out a couple of weeks later with no problems. The fluid buildup did cause the implant to look very raised, but this has subdued over time. Didn't require draining like I thought it would. Overall, the install went pretty smoothly, I think. It's all healed over now, save one corner that's still a little red. No idea what's up with that, but if the device fails, it fails. We've gained some valuable information about how long these devices can last, positioning, usage, and things like that. Here's a device while I was healing up. Looks pretty dramatic, no? It's all gone back to the right color now, and there's a badass scar where the incision was. This is what it looks like today. Kind of gnarly, but I wasn't a beauty queen to begin with. Ha! Hopefully the device remains in C2 for a good 6 months or so. I'd consider that a success, and the scar is cool. Speaking of gnarly, the janky finger was also fixed at Grindfest. Much to my surprise, a lot of weird shit came out. Oh, all tiny pips of neodymium scattered throughout the white tissue making up the lump. The incision wasn't too big, probably about a centimeter in length, and sealed up perfectly. I took the stitches out on the plane home and had to explain what I was doing to the poor woman seated next to me. I don't want to get the person who did it in trouble, so I'll just say that this procedure and the installation of the device above were done with superlative skill and care, and I'd recommend them anytime. That's pretty much anything I won't be able to make it. Pretty much everything. I won't be able to make it to DEF CON for those asking, but may well be able to come to Please Try This at Home in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in September. I'll figure that out in time. Meanwhile, love and best wishes to y'all, especially Vicarious Mixael Cyberlass, and you all have been wonderful people. I wonder how this all happened. I mean, you admit to, I mean, not trying to insult or make fun of anyone, but at the same time, when you admit to this and then you go through and do this, it is a little concerning when you say, I have mental problems, but at the same time, I did this cool thing. It's nice and all, but at the same time, seems kind of stupid. Let's see, I think this is the last one we'll read, and then, yeah. I've been back for about a week, and I miss body hacks a lot. I did have some travel problems getting in. There were 3 flights to get in, and 3 to get out. The first flight was no problem, but at the end of the transatlantic middle flight, there were thunderstorms over Atlanta, Georgia, which stopped us from landing on time. After that, the security queues to check our documents for entry to the USA were more than an hour long, and the combination of those things made me miss my connecting flight onto Texas. I ended up sleeping on the floor of the Atlanta airport, then taking a flight to San Antonio instead of Austin, then getting a paid-for taxi to Austin to find my hold baggage. The taxi man had no idea what was going on and kept asking me in Spanish, saying he didn't like the looks of my airline taxi voucher, and in the end, I had to ditch him at baggage claims and run around looking for another taxi to take me to the hotel. America was so strange. The taxi rides showed me a barren, mostly empty desert wasteland with many abandoned construction projects, ones in progress and land lots for sale, but then we crossed a bridge and suddenly we were in a fully built-up city center. I found the hotel and checked into what was absolutely the nicest apartment I have ever stayed in. Bigger than mine, with better amenities, and it even had a little terrace on the balcony outside. A dear friend had even sent a package with some Sergio Aragonés cartoons to distract me from Sergio Aragonés to distract me from my impending panel appearance and some delicious gourmet biscotti. It was amazing to arrive in this beautiful place, the kind of place I'd never be able to afford on my own and not have to worry about money. That day, some Austrian TV crew wanted to meet for an interview and even paid me for it, which was ace and never usually happens. There was a pre-meetup thing at a sausage restaurant where I got to meet some friends, which was pretty chill, except I got lost when I went for a smoke and missed like half of it. The panel the next day went well. I think people on Twitter seemed to like it, even though I kind of thought my responses were kind of just fancy ways to say gender isn't relevant to me, or I don't know enough about that, or that isn't really my conversation to have. But the rest of the con was incredible. I met so many amazing people doing amazing things, and everyone was so friendly. I never got used to being recognized by people I didn't know. So I ended up just saying hi and talking with absolutely everyone and anyone. I had some really interesting conversations then and at the wormhole after party thing that night, which was also pretty chill. My talk the day after was called Fun with Self-Surgery. Just a basic overview of how to keep things as sterile as possible and relatively safe while you're working on yourself. It was packed, as was my longtime friend Vicarious's talk just before that RFID programming, which I think is an indicator that it went well. There were a lot of questions at any rate. I used the money I got from the Austrian crew to get a Vivoki Spark implant installed and spent the rest of the day hanging out, smoking, and talking to everyone. I went for a burger with Vicarious and lovely Anastasia Sin at Tut's Burgers, the tastiest burger I've ever had in my life, no joke. I met Tim Cannon of Grindhouse Wetware, who was completely lovely and acquired a North Sense unit I need to install sometime soon. Cooper let me have a couple of prototype magnet implants to test out and promised I could test out something truly revolutionary if I managed to get to Grindfest. More on that when it's installed. I had dinner that night at a vegan place with a huge collection of fellow grinders. Mostly I was just amazed that the community has become so big and achieved so much. I was told I'm the spark that set everything off. If that's true, I am proud of you all that it so proud of you all that it hurts my heart. All I ever wanted was to pass on knowledge and ideas to smarter people than me, who'd do better things with it than I was capable of doing. And it's come true. People are doing so many utterly amazing things. I'm so proud of all of you and so happy. I ended up having a cry when I had to leave. It felt like I'd found my tribe, and I truly didn't want to leave and go back to my crappy Birmingham. But I have some things to be getting on with now, and I've booked my tickets to Grindfest thanks to some lovely people crowdfunding last year. At least I can meet up with my friends again come May. I know I keep saying it, but I am so proud of you all. This is exactly what I wished would happen 15 years ago. So, for those not in the loop yet, where is it? Grinders. So he mentioned grinders. Self-surgery. So grinders are basically like biohackers. They, in essence, cut themselves open and put technology inside themselves. So it's already been alluded to in some of the later posts that we read already. But that's basically it, is they take tech, how can I shove this in my body, and go from there. There have been multiple, I've come across a couple different things over the last number of years around that. But yeah, Vivoki Spark. Installed by a professional. Wait. These are chip identification chip implants. What? That's tiny, but at the same time, like, what? What? So it's an NFC token implant. Does it... So they've created their... Wait, so, I mean, they interface with other online stuff, but at the same time, they don't use any standardized stuff, like, well... Okay, you can put standardized stuff in the Flex, but at the same time, like, why? You use your own little, like, platform and identity thing when you could, like... Pretty much everyone else uses, like, what was it? If we look at YubiKey... I know, I can't remember the website-y thing. Yubico. See, YubiKey's Let's see, what is it? FIDO2, that one. U2F OpenPGP smart card. So it uses standard protocols right off the get-go, but this one, if you want to do that, you've basically got to get this one, or you use theirs that, like, might hook into it. Otherwise. Built in, not implanted, not built in, do it yourself or connect it to our web database. It's just really weird. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it is kind of concerning when you have someone that is like, yeah, I've got this, that, and the other, and then they're going and doing this. It's like, maybe, yeah. But I mean, it's interesting what they do. I mean, these kind of people, I mean, they cut themselves open, which is like, what? See, grinders. Grinder biohacking. Here we go. Grinders are people who apply the hacker ethic to improve their own bodies with do-it-yourself cybernetic devices or introducing biochemicals into the body to enhance their body's functionality. So yeah, practical transhumanists in essence. I mean, body modifications. But, I mean, I guess you have some different people that are in different political lines in it, but it sounds like a lot of them are to one political leaning in this area, but that's a thing for another day. If you enjoyed this perusal, memeing, and what all, and the other memey stuff I do, then all the links are down below. You know where to find them.